Hello again. RPGaDay 2018, number 20. Which game mechanic inspires my gaming the most? This is a very good question, and I've gone through many mechanics, but I haven't tried them all, I'll admit that. I've only tried what I think I might like. And I saw that the next question has to do with dice mechanics. So I have to avoid dice mechanics and just focus on game mechanics. Although I may bleed over into dice mechanics. But there have been several I didn't like and several I did. Most of them I discovered over long term. Some games work better in short amounts of play, and others work better long term. Dungeons and Dragons, for instance, regardless of what version you mess with, tends to be geared towards long-term play, with levels and powers that you develop through each level. In 3rd edition were feats and class abilities. They still have some of that in 5th edition. And I enjoy 5th edition especially. I enjoyed 3rd, although it had its flaws. But I do feel like it's not my go-to. It's too complicated to really prepare for. I don't have the time to develop a good campaign in D&D, even if it's published. So what I like is a good system that has a sense of a progression, like D&D, but is not that complicated. A progression, I mean in characters. That you get a sense of, this character definitely feels novice, and then by a year and a half, this character does feel like he's heroic. Savage Worlds is one of those systems that I think pulls that off to a degree. I think it could use a little bit more. D6 was one of those systems that we discovered was better in small amounts, and we never did that. We did long-term, year and a half to 2 years, almost 3-year campaigns, and we found that in systems like that, where there is no framework, that over time all characters tend to look and feel the same. They tend to focus on the skills that the campaign pushes them to, which is combat usually. And I get that, that might be partly because of my play, and that I don't balance the challenges enough. And I take some fault in that, but I think that there still needs to be something that holds the character within its concept. So I like a light class system, a very lightweight class system. Unfortunately, not a lot of games pull that off. I think Star Frontiers tried. They had primary skill areas, and then the Zebulon's guy brought in a specific class system, which I liked. It kept within the framework of each concept. I also like cards, and it doesn't have to be a deck of cards. In fact, I prefer not. Master Book and Shadowzone had an awesome set of cards that guided combat, called the Master Deck, that guided combat and actions and motivated characters in different ways. I've converted those to D20 before and D6, and now I'm about to embark on testing these out in Savage Worlds. I know that Savage Worlds has its own adventure deck, and those are kind of cool, but they don't come into play as often, and they work in both campaign and one-shot play, but I've only done them in one-shot play. And I enjoy those, but I really want to try the Master Deck in Savage Worlds because they're going that direction in a much lighter sense, with the new changes brought in through Flash Gordon. I could just see the influence, because Shane used to work for West End Games, and he worked on some of his products, and I think he's bringing in some of that influence. I could be wrong, but I just see a lot of similarities, and he's made it a lot less complicated than what they did for Master Book and Shadowzone, and brilliantly, to his credit. I'm diving into a little bit of that to see how that works. I've also just made up my own cards, and those could be plot cards. I've even had a character guided by cards. For instance, this character had amnesia, But slowly the memories came back. So what did I do? I gave him a deck of cards and a small deck. It was like 8. This was for a one-shot, but it can be done in campaign play, but it'd be a lot more cards and a lot more work. But I wrote memories that would come back over time, and I'd look at the amnesiac character and say, you can flip a card now. And that helped motivate the one-shot and guide it, role-played right. And that was in a Call of Cthulhu adventure, so it made it kind of creepy. I enjoy a good game feel. I want to feel like I'm playing a game, but I don't want to feel like we're not telling a story, that the game is getting in the way of the story. I want the game mechanics to enhance the story and make it more fun. So until next time, thanks for listening. Seek the wolf in thyself.